Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Earthen's Den. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about value, and we're going to be talking about friendships and the whole nine. Now, this is something I can actually talk about for a very long time. And honestly, I'm gonna try to make this podcast episode like a reasonable time frame because this is so real. And I just want to welcome everybody to the subscription service. If you guys loving the service so far and you found great value in it and you love the community, like I said, please be sure to send me voice memos so we could talk and we can converse. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a podcast topic that you guys want me to make a podcast episode on specifically. It could be something that you may be dealing with. Like I said, this community here really offers a real sense of community and a sense of connection. So you guys can really get in touch with me one-on-one. I look forward to doing other things too, such as like interviews and kind of bringing more people onto the podcast as well. But first and foremost, I just kind of want to get into this because we're going to be talking about friendships. And this is something that I really feel as though a lot of people desire, in today's world, especially now more than ever, right? I think that right now we have a serious lack of connection, right? I think we have a lack of connection. I think that when it comes to memes and therapists and counselors and so many other people who get online, right? Experts who have opinions about relationships and the way in which they should go and what you should look out for and what you shouldn't look out for. I think that all of this knowledge has really tuned out our ability to feel and to connect and to rely on ourselves in regards to our thoughts, in regards to our decision makings, in regards to what we know is best for us, right? Because I truly believe that what is for you, like only you know that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that any one specific person can know that for you. And even when you're young, right, and you make a bad decision, and you can obviously be accountable and say, you know what, when I look back on these times, I may be a little shaky in my confidence in myself because I made decisions that I thought was good for me. I mean, when you were 14 and you decided to try something, or when you were 15 and you decided to try something, like, you can't really like hold yourself accountable, right? And the reason why I say that is because you have to give yourself grace, you guys. Like, you got to give yourself grace. You got to understand, like, hey, when I was in that situation, I did the best I could. And I remember just like sometimes I'll have thoughts about myself and I'm like, oh man, yeah, but you this, you that. And I'm like, no, I forgive myself, right? I forgive myself because I did the best I could. I didn't know any better when I was in those situations. Like, I literally did the best I could. And I think sometimes we forget to extend that same level of grace to ourselves. But I want to talk to you guys about friendships and me personally, what I believe is a genuine friendship. First and foremost, it is rooted in mutualism. I know a lot of people that I know in my life personally that, if I call them at a certain time or just in general, they don't even text me back. Like, to me, that's not love, right? And here's another thing too. I want to extend this to you guys. Understand this. God never called for us to be doormats. I know that scripture tells us to love one another and to be in that space. And don't get me wrong, I think that we can still apply those commandments to our lives and we can still abide and heed to the ways of God. But I do not believe that God has called us to be a doormat, you guys. We got to use our rational brain, right? We can't always lead with our spirit man in these spaces, because when you love like that, when you have a heart after God, when you love people and you really abide by the commandments in regards to, loving your brother or your sister, loving others as you love yourself. You know what I mean? Sometimes people will take advantage of that. And I hate to say it, but it's true. So you have to protect yourself. And I talked to you guys about that in the last episode. Like, you got to protect your energy. So I don't believe that God has called us to be doormats. I believe that God has given us a rational brain, and God has given us a human body and a left, right hemisphere in our brain that allows us to decipher, right, between danger and between just when somebody's, not being right towards us, right? So I think that when it comes to friendships, you got to use your wisdom. And so for me, that's alarming, because here's the thing. This is what I know. I got to a point in my life where I stopped making excuses for people. I used to make so many excuses. Oh, this person has a baby. Oh, this person has this going on in their lives. First and foremost, let me tell you this. I don't really care. And I know that may sound crass, but hear me clearly. I don't care, because let me tell you something. This is what I know about life. And this is what I know about every person that I meet, every person that I come across. Everybody is dealing with their own battle. So if you're so wrapped up in yourself, that you can't extend some love and some grace and some compassion and some attention to somebody else, you need to stay right where you at. You don't need no friends. What are you talking about? You don't even know how to be a friend. And this is the problem. Like, I think for me, when it comes to that, like, people don't know how to be friends. I get so frustrated when I see all these memes going around and like, oh, I just want to hang around boss chicks and da 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 da. We have been so conditioned. I talk about this in my book, Seasons. I said morals, values, and belief. Where have they gone? Where are the morals, values, and beliefs? Where are the independent thinkers? Where are the people who can actually value genuineness? It's out the window. And I remember, coming up, I really was dibbling and dabbling in the arts, right? I've been doing that for a very long time, and I was traveling to New York, and I met certain people. I met a guy, he was a Gucci model, and he was cool. Like, he was dope, and I just think that seeing that in itself was very inspirational. He was a person of color. But one of the things that I find to be very common in these spaces is that this high level of superficiality. Let me make this clear to you guys. Understand that you can always find people to have fun with. And first and foremost, when it comes to having fun, if you learn to have fun by yourself, if you define what fun is for you, like, do you even like going to clubs? Do you even like getting drunk? Do you even like showing up to these places? I remember being very young. I never liked doing certain things. I never felt comfortable. It just wasn't my thing. You know what I mean? It always made me feel uncomfortable. My friends will always say I was stuck up. Well, I ain't going to say my friends, but the girls I was hanging out with in high school, they would say, oh my gosh, she's so stuck up. The guys we would hang out with in groups, they never wanted to talk to me. I didn't care. You know what I mean? I was always a leader in that sense, because certain things just I wasn't comfortable with them. Right. And so now in today's age, it's almost like a lot of people go along to get along. And I've never been that type of person. I just can't do it. My truth will always override my need or my desire to be accepted or to be liked. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I'll stand over here. You know what I mean? Because at least at the end of the day, I know I'm going to be standing in who I am. And I'm going to walk away with my pride and my dignity. And that's something that you can never take away from a person. Right. And don't get me wrong. Like, of course, when it comes to pride can sometimes be, you don't want to be too prideful. That could be haughty. That's a haughty spirit. And that's not good for you. Right. But we ain't talking about that right now. We're talking about just you standing in who you are in your truest essence. You got to understand that some decisions that you make, like when you're compromising yourself, it's the ultimate self-betrayal. And that right there is actually lowering your self-esteem. If you stand in what it is that you want and stop compromising your standards, your morals, your values, your beliefs, you'll be in a whole different field, right? Because you'll be in your own lane and you can actually navigate that lane because God has given you certain things to work that lane, right? But nobody talks about that today. You know what I mean? And that's why I was so adamant about creating this service, because I'm like, I need to be able to share this with people in a different light. I don't need nobody regurgitating my messages. I ain't got time for that. And even though I don't think that you can, and I'm not really worried about a copycat, like I can really care less. I just think it's so important that people get on these platforms and share unique opinions and experiences. We need it. No space is too saturated for individuality. And that's just period. You know what I mean? If you're an original person, if you're authentic, if you're true to yourself, if you know who you are, if God has a calling on your life to do certain things, you're going to excel at it. And you need to know that, right? So back to this whole friend thing. I believe that people treat you in the way in which you allow, right? And so for me, I was like, hey, I can't rock with this, right? And so this is somebody who comes around periodically and, it's fine. And me personally, just being the type of loving person I am, I'm like, okay, I still love this person, but I've learned to set boundaries with this person, right? And I understand that this is somebody who is not reliable. This person is not dependable. So do I want to take this person with me into certain future endeavors? Absolutely not. And this is how you have to assess your circle. Now, hear me clearly. This is only if you're real. Now, if you're in the process of becoming, okay, just listen up. You know what I mean? And the reason I say that is because a lot of people sit online and act like they're so perfect. I know so many people who would sit online, be dead wrong, and be posting memes like the other person is wrong. And this is I don't even know. I'm going to say The Conjuring. I don't even know. Like the conjuring of social media. People will sit online, post memes about other people being narcissists and how, oh, when God removes people out of your life, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Girl, whole time you was the one who was removed. You see, and this is the false illusion, right? This is the false illusion that social media creates for a lot of people. It creates a sense of narcissism in a high degree because everything you're posting, people are like, yeah, man, these girls ain't that. Or yeah, girl, yeah, these guys aren't this. Whole time you dead wrong. You dead wrong. But see, when you have people validating that, right? You don't have nobody to say, girl, hold up. Or nah, man, you tripping. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have nobody to say that. Or the people that you do have to say that, right? Because they come so far and few between. And we don't appreciate that. The people who are going to tell you dead wrong, it's like one or two in your life. And I ain't talking about criticism because this is a whole nother podcast, but there are people who will literally criticize you all for a sense of control. There are people who will criticize you because deep down inside, they're jealous of you. They really want to tear you apart. They're not going to ever agree with anything you have to say, even if it may be right, even if they do agree deep down within themselves, right? They just, the jealousy, the envy, the discontentment within themselves that is projected onto you, they will never be able to sit in that space with you of truth, right? Because what they're dealing with within their spirit, it will always project outward. So they'll never be able to really sit in that space. And so I'm not talking about that though. What I'm talking about is just people in general, like this level of narcissism, how you can be dead wrong and you don't have nobody who's accountable, or you don't have anybody who holds you accountable in your circle. So you go on Instagram and you talk about this and you post certain memes and everybody's like, yes, yeah, bro. You know what I mean? So when you're in that space, there's nobody to hold you accountable. Who's going to hold you accountable? Exactly. And so I think that right there is the problem. And so that's where we have these senses, this sense of narcissism, because you don't have no real people around you. Everybody is a yes man. Everybody is just like, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Because they're thinking the same thing, but nobody is challenging you. And therefore, you're never going to grow. And so the second thing is having friends who challenge you. That's a real thing. You know, my homegirl, I love her. I love her to death, man. Like the things that she's brought into my life is almost like a reflection of myself. You know what I mean? The part of me that I kind of throw away because I didn't want to bring her out because I didn't want to offend anybody. I used to feel like me being the best version of myself, me being this fabulous, phenomenal woman would offend people. And I oftentimes fell into the narratives of, oh, this angry black woman or this strong black woman, or you're never going to be this, you're never going to be that. Because let me tell you this straight up. I want it all. I want the career. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back it up. I want the purpose, right? I want the purpose. I want the career. I want the inspiration. I want the family. I want the husband. I want the kids. I want the cars. I want the house. I want everything. I want it all. You know what I mean? I want it all. I want the peace. I want the fulfillment. I want the maturity, right? I want the growth. I want the challenges. You know, I want the strengthening. I want the cultivating. Okay. You see what I'm saying? I want the catapulting. I want the leveling up. Like I want the upgrade. You know what I mean? And so I used to just feel as though if I stood in that would take away from other people. Like, and honestly, I'm in therapy. You know what I mean? I'm in therapy. So I'm like working out why I used to feel that way about myself. But that's a real thing. And so having people who challenge you is a real thing. I think that sometimes we're so used to people just gelling with us. We're so used to hanging around people who do the same things as us, who have the same opinions and the same mindsets. And so when we have people who have friction in our lives, we don't know how to deal with it. We almost see that as them being aggressive or them being combative, right? And we want to fight with them, not recognizing that, you know what, it's healthy to have people in your life who don't agree with everything you say. That's okay. And like I said, you got to be mindful because I think in today's age, I'm not going to say today's age, but I just think that overall there are people who are jealous of you. If you're independent, if you're, smart, if you're strong, if you're competent, if you're somebody who is just an individual, right? You're going to have people who criticize you just to criticize you, right? So you have to be discerning in that. And then the third thing, I just got to say this, like having friends who are there for you when you're down. I know a lot of people talk about this and it doesn't seem like it's anything that's just, it's like, oh, okay, whatever. You have friends who are there for you when you're down, whatever. But no, you guys, like literally having friends who are there for you when you're not so strong, or when you're falling on hard times, who pull up on you and just laugh with you, or call you and just laugh with you and remind you of all your strengths, all the times that you've shown up in their lives, and all of the good stuff that you bring is a rarity. And I can honestly say I don't think I've met that just... Actually, no, I can't say that. My homegirl does a really good job at showing me that. Whenever I'm feeling down, she does have a really beautiful way of reminding me of who I am. And I love that, because it never feels like ingenuine, and she never makes me feel like I'm taken away from her by shining my light. And I think that that's something I've never had. And so that's rare, and I really appreciate it. So having friends that are there for you, that's a real thing, because people don't understand. First of all, let me say this too. I don't think that people take a lot of risk. So I don't think that a lot of people know what it's like to actually be down. Yeah, you can sit here and say you're down, but that's because you decided not to apply for the job. That's because you decided not to go after anything. But let me tell you about these dark times when you're actually pursuing something, when you're going after your dream, when you're working hard on your job, and it all just kind of vanishes. That's a different type of level of down, right? That's a different type of level when you lose your car, right? That's a different type of level versus you just sitting on your behind and not making a decision. Do you see what I'm saying? So when those things happen, and you actually have people in your corner who support your vision, who understand what it is that you're up to, right? And they're really rocking with you, it hits a little different, and I just think that people don't understand that. It's rare. Man, I can hang around so many people when I'm happy. When I'm happy, when I'm vibrant, I'm feeling my best self, when I'm feeling beautiful, when I'm feeling confident, I can hang around anybody. But when I'm down and I'm not feeling my best, what do people mostly say, right? What are the memes I see on Instagram? Oh, you got to protect your energy, set your boundaries. Oh my God, emotional dumping. All of this stuff right here is doing nothing more than creating division between us, because people don't understand what it's like to be a friend. And when you have all of these memes, all these people telling you how to be, how to think, right? You have the algorithm working against you. It really puts you in a space, it just puts you at such a disadvantage, because instead of you learning certain things like, hey, with this person, I know I need to set some boundaries. Hey, with this person, I know that I need to be in a space in which I'm not necessarily going to give this person that much time, right? This goes back to boundaries, right? Because I understand that this person doesn't respect my time, or this person doesn't respect that. But when you have friends, you have people that you love, when you have people that you value and that you cherish, you show up for them, period. And I think that this is the detriment of social media, like in regards to connections, So I just had to get on here and say that, because to me, it means so much. And I don't think that we talk about it enough. And, all the people who are jealous of you, all the people who make little comments on the sly, I understand this too. Like, listen, man, go to therapy, get a journal. You know what I mean? Go to therapy, get a journal, go outside, sit with God, okay? Take some walks around, go get some exercise in, like eat healthier, try a vegan or a plant-based diet for a week or a month, cleanse your mental, meditate. Because the reason I say that is because y'all need to get clarity on what is real and what is not real. I think a lot of people have a lot of just baggage, and then they just project it. A lot of it is just projections. You know what I mean? People think that somebody is saying something about them whole time. Girl, that's because you was dealing with this over here in this situation in high school, and you never dealt with it. So now this girl looks like that, or this girl has a sister like so, and you think that this particular person is saying certain things about you when that's not the case. That's not the case at all. But because you're not healed, we happen to bleed on others, right? And sometimes the downside of not healing and working on ourselves and making sure that we have a safe community where we can vent and talk about these things is you'll meet people who can take advantage of you, who will take advantage of you, who will play on your triggers, who will play on, your emotional and just on your heart, right? But the Bible tells us to guard our heart. So one of the things that I'm definitely going to pray for everybody on this podcast is 12:12. All right now is I pray for discernment for everybody, because I know right now more than ever, we all want connection, right? We all want people to hang out with, to share good laughs with, to share good food with. We want to do first. We want to go on trips. We want to build connection. We're human beings. And let's just admit that there's nothing wrong with, desiring connection. That is what we're here to do. We're here to connect. We're here to procreate. We're here to create lives together, right? God tells us to be fruitful and to multiply. We're here to create opportunities. We're here to fulfill our dreams and our visions and, you know what I mean, to walk in our purpose. And that is going to require connection. So don't ever feel bad for desiring it. You're not desperate. I personally don't like that because I think that it's only when it comes to women. You see what I mean? And typically when it comes to desperation, it's always used in such a derogatory way. But I think at the end of the day, we're all desperate for something, whether it's money. Some men are desperate for love. Some women may be, you know what I mean? Like, and I just don't like when we use the word desperate because I think that it's really derogatory. When at the end of the day, we all want connection. We all want love to some degree, even the strongest of the strongest, whether or not they talk about it, you know? And so understand that you got to read between the lines a lot of times. And really, you got to start assessing things from your heart and from where you're at in your life, right? So if you have an opinion about something and you know you may not have had a similar background to Jalen Leslie, right? And I tell you guys all the time, I was bullied. I was isolated as a kid. I really had a lot of time to cultivate this strong sense of self. I know who I am and I'm pretty clear about what it is and I'm thinking. But I too have went through seasons in my life where I had a lot of baggage. Right? I had a lot of baggage before I wrote Seasons, before I went to therapy. I had a lot of baggage. I had a lot of things that I needed to release. I wasn't seeing certain things clearly. Do you see what I'm saying? And even though personally I like to think that I was always seeing things clearly because I'm intuitive, right? I'm intuitive. I'm a woman, right? But I will gladly admit when I'm wrong. I really have no desire to be right all the time, right? I really don't. But listen, you guys, this is important, you know? So when it comes to your friendships, assess the people in your life, okay? Assess the people in your life because they make all the difference, you know what I mean? And it's a real thing. And I'm actually going to go ahead. I think I'm going to go ahead and post this episode here. I may post this one on the other page too, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, this will be the only one. And the reason I say that too is because I need people to see where I'm coming from. You see what I mean? I need you guys to gauge where I'm at with this podcast here because I'm not good at marketing. If you guys follow me on Instagram at Jen Leslie, you can see where I'm trying to kind of market the subscription service as well as the podcast. So I'm doing the best I can, right? I'm creative. I'm a creative director. This is what I do. I get it started. I'm innovative. I get some nice colors, okay? Some color schemes, some palettes. This is what I do, right? I can guide us to that, get us to that flag, okay? In Will Smith's words. So listen, friendships matter, and keep in mind these 3 points that I talked about in today's episode because it makes all the difference, you know. And understand that in life, let me end with this too. When you have people who leave you, and I mean they leave you, I mean that God removes them, or you find out they were doing wrong, or you knew they was doing wrong all along, and they are gone. Do not chase people. Do not chase them. Do not beg them. Do not plead with them. You let them go. And you don't look back. Don't look back. Keep going. Because there's a reason and a season for everything, sweetheart. And I'm telling you right now, you keep going. You keep headed on to your path. You forgive. You may even forget. But you keep moving, okay? You keep moving. You forgive, you forget, and you keep moving, okay?